Professor V. Muralidhar is serving as head, Department of Mathematics, Mohammed Satak College of Arts and Science, Chennai. He has 23 years of teaching experience. He has attended 3 international and 5 national conferences. He was a resource person at the Mohammed Satak Teachers Training College in Chennai in 2012, where he spoke on History of Mathematical Genius Ramanujan. He was elected Academic Counselor, University of Madras during 2003-06. He has attended the Orientation and Refresher courses at the Academic Staff College, University of Madras. He specializes in stochastic modeling and has rich experience in discrete mathematics, operations research, statistical methods, and numerical analysis.
Welcome to UGC lecture series. So in the last lecture part, we have seen different types of measures of dispersion. First one we have seen absolute measure, then we started with relative measures. So to compute dispersions, we need to calculate different types of quartiles. That is the first quartile which we represent by Q1, second quartile which we represent by Q2, which we call it as a median of the data, and third quartile is Q3. And using this we have found Q3 minus Q1, which we call it as interquartile range. Then from that we derived and determined the quartile deviation. And in the last session we have also seen different types of problems under the coefficient of variation, which we defined as standard deviation by mean into 100, and we have found how to calculate this standard deviation for discrete series, and then we have started calculating for the continuous data. Then we have seen some of the simple exercise problems which you have done. I hope you should have completed by this time. In this part we will start with measures of skewness and moments and kurtosis. So we will see each one separately. First one we will start with skewness. What is the meaning of skewness? Skewness is nothing but lack of symmetry. If you take any frequency distribution, then we will see how the data is varying with respect to the given values. So if you see the values, if you have equally distributed on both sides, we say 50% we have both sides to be equal. On the other hand, if you take the data where you have a symmetric distribution, that means we have got everything going equally, that is mean, median, mode, all the 3 coincides. But if there is lack of symmetry, then we call the distribution as skewed distribution. So here today we will study about various types of skewness for a given data. Skewness is generally defined as the frequency distribution in which the shape is not symmetrical. So whenever you have lack of symmetry, we call that as a skew symmetric, and for a symmetrical distribution your mean, median and mode, they are identical. Whenever you take any unskewed distribution, we have you can easily see from the following diagrams. So here we have a frequency distribution which we have drawn for a general data. So whenever you take this distribution, the middle one is called a normal distribution, where your distribution is not skewed. So we have a symmetric distribution. Here the symmetry in the sense that it is equally distributed on either side of the mean. That is the middle one, you have a line, that is your mean. So on either side of the mean, if you see, your distribution is equal, and we call this the extreme ends. We call this extreme ends which will tend to infinity. This means that they never touch the axis, but they go very nearer to the axis, and both this distribution goes equally on both sides. So whenever I got on the right side of 0, we call it as a positive distribution. Whenever I got values on the left side, we call that as a negative distribution. On the other hand, if we take a lack of symmetry, then we have the 2 extreme curves. The right side curve, we say it is positively skewed. Here if you see, your mode is going to be greater than median and median is going to be greater than mean. So in this case you have got more curve variation on the right side, whereas on the left side we got less variation. Hence, since you got more variation on the right side, we call that as a positive skewness, and you have the direction to be positive direction on the right side of mean. On the other hand, on the left side, if you see, your curve is going more variation on the left side, on the right side you got very few less variation, and in this case your mode is going to be greater than median and median is going to be greater than mean on the left side. So, whenever I got on the negative side, we call the distribution as negatively skewed distribution. Skewness means non-symmetrical distribution, that is called skewness. Let us move to the different types of measures of skewness. How you measure this lack of symmetry? See, the skewness is measured by different types. First one is we have got absolute measure of skewness, and the second one we got relative measure of skewness. How we define absolute measure of skewness? And here we denote by SK. SK means skewness. So, for practical problem purposes we use skewness and represented by SK. So, absolute measure of skewness is defined as mean minus mode. So, here we got defined with respect to mean and mode, which are measures of dispersion. And what are the different merits and advantages of this skewness? First one, suppose if the value of mean is greater than mode, then we say that your skewness is positive skewness. On the other hand, if the value of mode is greater than mean, then we call that skewness as a negative skewness. So, we compare the distribution with respect to mean and mode. With respect to the type where you got variation, you have the corresponding skewness, whether positive or negative. And what are the demerits of this skewness? First one is, if you can express the skewness in the unit of value of the distribution and could therefore not be comparable series expressed in different units. So, whenever I take any two types of data where each one is represented under different types of your measurement, then you cannot compare with respect to your skewness. So, both should be comparable series, and if it is in different units you cannot measure it, that is one disadvantage. And the second one is the difference between any two measures in absolute terms might be considerable in one series and small in the other series. So, such a thing should not get arised whenever you take any type of distribution. So, you should have either both in terms of absolute or both should be small, but if you got one absolute term considerable, the other one is very small, then we say that the calculation is not correct. That is, this is another disadvantages of this measure of skewness. And the next one is you have relative measure of skewness. Normally relative measure, it gives the degree of accuracy of your skewness. Here there are four types of skewness, and here we are given only the two types, and the other two types we will see when we discuss the moments. See, in the first type we have got a Karl-Pearson coefficient of skewness. So, here the skewness is measured with respect to your mean and mode. We determine the coefficient with respect to mean, mode and median, that is a measure of dispersion. On the other hand, the second one is Bowley's coefficient of skewness, and in this Bowley's coefficient we measure the skewness with respect to moments. So, where moments when we do these problems it comes under the head of moments. Now, let us see the first part, that is Karl-Pearson's coefficient of skewness. How we determine this Karl-Pearson's coefficient? Here we determine the skewness and we represent by KSK, Karl-Pearson's coefficient of skewness. It is defined as the ratio of mean minus mode by standard deviation. So, to apply this to determine this measure, first for the given data you have to determine the mean, then you have to calculate the mode, and finally you have to determine the standard deviation. So, to compute all these things, first you have to form the table. If it is a discrete, you can calculate it directly, but if it is a continuous distribution, you must form a table and determine the frequencies, all those sigma fx, sigma x square, everything, and substitute in the formula and determine the corresponding standard deviation, mean and mode. So, once you substitute in this, that is going to give you the coefficient of skewness, and when you take the coefficient of Bowley's skewness, it is going to be defined with respect to the your corresponding quartiles. So, here this quartiles you have to find out Q1, Q3 and Q2. See, Q2 is nothing but second quartile, which we call it as the median of the data, we call it as median of the data. So, here we define the skewness by Q3 plus Q1 minus 2 Q2 divided by Q3 minus Q1. See, this Q3 minus Q1 is nothing but interquartile range, and Q1 is going to be first quartile, Q3 is going to be the third quartile and Q2 is the second quartile. So, to calculate these quartiles, here also we must form table of calculation where we need your sigma of frequency and sigma of f into x, sigma of fx square, everything, and substitute in the formulas for continuous series and determine the 3 quartiles, and once you substitute in this you are going to get Pauli's coefficient of skewness. Now, let us see some of the important properties of skewness, and here the important properties is whenever you are given a skewness, what are the good measure of skewness? You have some kind of good quality in measuring the skewness. First one, your skewness should be a purely a number, you should not get any value or variable like that. It should be a number which is independent of the units of the series and also the degree of variation in the corresponding series. So, it measures the degree as well as the units which you have in the series, they are independent to each other. Second one is your skewness should have a 0 value when the distribution is symmetrical. So, whenever I say symmetric distribution, your skewness is going to be 0, and whenever it is not skewed, naturally you should have either positive value of skewness or negative value of skewness. 0 you get only if it is a symmetrical distribution. And third one is your skewness should have some meaningful scale of measure, so that we could easily interpret the measured value. So, whenever you got a scale, that will give you the corresponding measure of skewness, which will determine the variation either in the positive direction or in the negative direction. So, all these characteristics gives an ideal value of measure of skewness. And the second thing is we start with the simple problems. First one is whenever you are given any value with the frequency, how to calculate the skewness. Calculate the Pearson's coefficient of skewness for the following data. See, in this data if you see, you are given x value and the corresponding frequency. So, whenever you observe these x values, it looks that it is the mid values of some class interval. Normally class interval if you take, it forms equally distributed. So, here again if you take 10 to 15, then it is going to give you 12.5, then 15 to 20 it is going to give you 17.5. So, all these values denote the mid values of the class interval and you are given the corresponding frequency, and here the frequencies you are given in the double digit and triple digit like that. Hence, we can use a deviation method for determining the skewness, and in this case when you want to calculate the skewness, first you have to determine the mean, you have to find out the median, you have to calculate the mode, and then only you can use the Pearson's coefficient of skewness. So, to determine this measure median etc., in the calculation table you have to form the cumulative frequency. So, let us see the table. So, here if you see the table, first column denotes the mid values and the second column denotes the your corresponding frequency, where if you compute the total frequency, it is going to be 500, which is represented by capital N. And second thing is you have got deviation values. Here the deviation is defined by taking the mid value of the given x series. Normally in the x series you can take any value, but here in this particular case you can also take the one of the value as the mid value, which we are taking as 27.5, and here you subtract 27.5 from each of these x values, that is going to give you your deviations, and you divide by the length of the class interval. As I told, since these values are mid values of class interval, your phi is nothing but your corresponding length of the corresponding class intervals, and in this case since it is going to be 10 to 15, your length of class interval will be 15 minus 10, so which is going to be phi. So, you divide this difference by phi and hence you get corresponding deviation values. Whenever you observe this deviation values, you can see that above you have negative value and below you got positive value. So, here we talk about variation of shape of the frequency curve and which is going to be measured by various measures of skewness, and in this session we have seen how to determine the measure of skewness. First one we have got Pearson's measure of skewness, second one we have Pauli's coefficient of skewness, and in this Pearson's we have got a defined variation with respect to mean, median and mode. In the case of Pauli's we have seen the measure with respect to quartiles. So, using any one of these two forms one can calculate and determine your measure of skewness. And then we have seen some simple properties of skewness with respect to the shape, with respect to the value, etc. Now, let us continue with a problem where we have to calculate the Colli-Pearson's coefficient of skewness. So, in this problem you are given the data with respect to the mid values and the corresponding frequencies. So, to determine Colli-Pearson's we need to calculate mean, mode and standard deviation. See, for finding mean your class interval need not be equally spaced, it can be even open end classes also, and for determining the mode and median we need to have the class interval to be uniform class interval, and then for standard deviation it can be of any model. See, once you determine these things we need frequency, we need your deviation values, and then you need f into d, f into d square, etc. And mode, to determine the mode we need the maximum value for the frequency. In this data if you see the maximum value lies in the middle, that is 129. So, the corresponding value is going to be your mode. So, whenever you are given the class interval then you have to determine the maximum value, the corresponding class interval is called modal class interval. So, in this data we have determined the deviation, multiply each deviation value with the corresponding frequency, that gives the fourth column, that is f into d. So, 28 into minus 3 we got minus 84, 42 into minus 2 we got minus 84, 54 into minus 1 you got minus 54. So, etc. the last one 33 into 4 you get 132. So, here sigma f d. So, you have to add all these values, first you add the negative value, then you add all the positive value, take the difference, that is going to give you 296, which is your sigma f into d. Then you square each of these deviation values and multiply with the corresponding frequency. So, here if you see minus 3 whole square is 9. So, 9 into 28 you are going to have 252. Similarly, minus 2 whole square. So, 4 into 42 you have 168, minus 1 whole square, 1 into 54 you got 454. The other one is 0 square, so it is 0, then 1 into 129 129. So, you take the last one 4 square, 16 into 33 you got 528. So, from this you have to determine the sigma f into d square, which is going to be 1780, which is going to be 1780. Now, to calculate this coefficient of skewness you have to compute each of the mean, median, mean and standard deviation, and then you have to substitute in the corresponding formula for the skewness. First one, mean one, since the values are very big values we take the deviation method. So, for deviation method we need assumed value. In this case we have taken the assumed value to be capital A, that is 27.5 in the given series, this one. Similarly, for the corresponding capital N the total frequency is 500, then C is going to be the length of your corresponding class interval, here the length is going to be 5, hence your C is going to be 5. So, once you substitute in this, that is going to give you 27.5 plus 296, sigma f d you see it is 296. So, you got 296 divided by 500 into 5. So, once you compute your mean is going to be 30.46. Now, since to calculate the mode we have to take the value corresponding to maximum frequency. So, in this second column the maximum frequency falls in the fifth row, that is 129. So, the corresponding value of x is 32.5, your maximum is 129. So, the corresponding value of the mode is going to be 32.5, and here to determine the standard deviation, the third one, you have to use this formula, where we got this formula for calculating the standard deviation for a continuous series, where you are given the class interval with the frequency. So, here when we want to apply this formula you need to calculate sigma f d square, then sigma f d, which we already found from the corresponding series. So, in the corresponding table you can see that your sigma f d square is going to be 1780 and sigma f into d is 296, and you substitute these values in this, and if you square and simplify and subtract from 1780 by 500, that is going to give the value of the square root, multiply with the 5, your corresponding standard deviation is going to be 8.96, and if you see the unit both for mean and standard deviation, we give it is independent of units which we give as a numerical value. So, standard deviation is 8.96 and your corresponding mean is going to be 30.46 and hence your corresponding coefficient of skewness is 30.46 minus your mode is 32.5 divided by the standard deviation which is 8.96. Hence, the corresponding coefficient of skewness will be minus 0.228. As we have already seen in this problem, you have got a skewness which is negatively skewed, that is why we got minus 0.228, and if you multiply this by 100, we have got 22.8% on the negative side of the distribution. Now, let us go to another important problem where we calculate the Karl-Pearson's coefficient for the following data. See, in the preceding problem, although it is a class interval, we have got only the values of x with the frequency. Hence, we have determined the skewness by using direct method. Now, for this problem, you are given the class interval with the corresponding frequency, where you have to determine Karl-Pearson's coefficient of skewness, and the class interval it is given in the descending order. So, you can see the variable 70 to 80, 60 to 70, 50 to 60, 40 to 50, 30 to 40, 20 to 30, 10 to 20, 0 to 10. So, since you are given in the decreasing order, corresponding frequency is given to be 11, 22, 30, 35, 21, 11, 6 and 5, and to determine this coefficient of skewness, first you have to rearrange the data. So, first thing is you rearrange the data in the ascending order of magnitude, and then we have to compute the corresponding your coefficient of skewness. So, if you arrange this data, then the class interval you have to write in this form, that is 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30 etc. up to 70 to 80. Correspondingly, for each of the class interval you have to take the mid value, and here 0 plus 10 by 2 you get 5. Similarly, 10 plus 20 by 2 you get 15, then 20 plus 30 by 2 you get 25, 30 to 40 divided plus 40 by 2 you get it is going to be 30, and then you have 40 etc. The last one 70 plus 80 by 2 150 by 2, so it is 75, and correspondingly the frequency is also arranged in this order. You have got 5, 6, 11 etc. up to 22 and 11, and if you add the frequency, the total frequency is going to be 141, and we represent sigma f by capital N. And the deviation, so to determine the deviation you have to take the mid value of the corresponding second column, that is mid values. So, for each of the class interval you have got mid values, and among these mid values we take the assumed mean to be 35. So, here you can take either 55 or 25 anything, but here we are taking 35. So, which we call it as capital A. Subtract 35 from each of the given mid values and divide by the length of the class interval. How you find length of class interval? You take any of the class interval, upper limit minus lower limit, that is going to give you the length or width of the class interval. So, in this case you have got the deviation where the upper value you have minus 3, that is you have 5 minus 35 by 10. So, minus 30 by 10 you got minus 3. Similarly, 15 minus 35, so it is going to be minus 20 by 10. So, we have minus 2. 25 minus 35 minus 10 by 10, so you got minus 1, and 35 is 35, so the difference will be 0. So, we have 0 here. 45 minus 35 by 10, we have got 10 by 10 which is 1. Similarly, 55 minus 35 by 10, we have got 20 by 10, that is 2. Then 65 minus 35 by 10, 30 by 10, so it is 3. 75 minus 35, 40 by 10, you have got 4. Now, you have above negative values, add and subtract from the below negative values, you are going to get 4. The total value is going to be 4, and the sigma fd, to determine fd, multiply each column frequency value with the corresponding d value. So, 5 into minus 3 you have minus 15, 6 into minus 2 minus 12 etc. 22 into 3 you got 66, 11 into 4 you got 44. So, here also you add all the negative values, add all the positive values, take the difference, that is going to give you sigma fd which is 167. Now, the next thing is you have to square each value of the deviation. Minus 3 whole square, that is 9. So, 9 into 5 you get f into 45. Then you have minus 2 whole square, 4 into the corresponding d value, it is going to be 24, 4 into 6 24. Then you have minus 1 whole square, which is going to be 1. So, 1 into 11 you got 11. So, similarly if you take, you have 3 square 9 into 22, it is going to be 198. Then 4 square 16 into 11, it is going to be 176. So, if you take the summation, since all the values are positive, your sigma f d square is going to be 609. Now, to compute the Karl Pearson's, you have to compute mean, mode and standard deviation as before. So, in this case your assumed value is going to be the 35 which we have taken and the deviation, that is going to be your A, and sigma f d we already got to be 167, and the total frequency n is 141. So, you substitute in this, multiply by the length of class interval, it is going to be 10. So, your mean is 46.84. Since in this problem the maximum frequency, you should take the middle values here and determine the corresponding values of median, that is going to be maximum value is going to be 35, the corresponding modal class interval is 40 to 50. So, this is your modal class interval. So, when you take the modal class interval, you have to see what is the corresponding lower limit. So, in this problem the lower limit is going to be 40. So, L is 40 and f1 is going to be the frequency preceding the modal value, that is going to be 35. So, it is 35 and f0 is going to be the corresponding succeeding value, which is going to be 21. Hence, you got 21 here, and then f0 is the frequency corresponding to the modal class, that is going to be 21. So, you have 70, 2 into 35, that is 70 minus 21 and you got minus 30, multiply by the class interval length, which is 10, and if you compare to the total, your mode is going to be 47.37. So, in the preceding problem, since we got the value directly, you have determined the mode as a single value, but here since it is a class interval, you have to use the formula method to calculate the mode. Once you get a mode, mean, etc., then we move to calculate the standard deviation. For standard deviation, you have got a usual formula for continuous series. Sigma f d square we got 609, sigma f d is 167, which we got in the table, and you substitute here, length of class interval is 10. So, your standard deviation is 17.08, and coefficient of skewness you substitute mean minus mode divided by standard deviation. So, here also we got coefficient of skewness to be minus 0.031, and if you express in percentage, you have to multiply by 100. So, that is going to give you 3.1%. So, you can see this percentage, from this you can see it is negatively skewed on the left side. Now, let us have a small exercise problems. First one is calculate Karl Pearson's coefficient for values with the frequency. Second problem, we have got a Karl Pearson's coefficient for the given class interval with the frequency. Determine the coefficient of skewness as before as we calculated today, and check with the corresponding variations whether it is positive or negative. Now, let us have a small summarization. So, in this session we have studied various measures of skewness and different types of shapes of distribution and their corresponding properties. Also, we have seen different problems to measure the skewness using the measures of dispersion and the moments, which will be forthcoming session. Thank you.